Good morning. Hello. Thank you for joining us this morning. I think for this is weird. Okay, thank you. I think for a design festival, for a couple of reasons, it's very important to be open in a lot of senses of the word. I think this year, with the help of a couple of great institutions and people, we managed to open the festival a bit further, and it's been a great experience. This morning session of discussion now is not only about what we did this year, but it's kind of informed by that informative background that we had the chance to invite Natalia Burova here to the left of me as our Kultur Gemma fellow, and for her to be able to create a large piece of work, not only work but also community as part of the festival. For us, that was a great experience. I hope for the other parties involved as well. Also our cooperation with VIENNADESIGN this year brought some unexpected program into the festival, and I think it was a great exchange between two festivals where you would normally immediately think that they have anything in common, but we found out we actually have a lot in common. So we wanted to take some time this Friday to discuss that, but most of all tackle a kind of unpleasant topic of how even contexts that we perceive as open, or that we wish to be open, often aren't. They're very homogeneous, with these homogeneous people congratulating each other on how open they are. And I think this is one of the chances maybe we have to challenge this and sort of set the path on how to continue this effort. So I'd like to take the chance now to say thank you to Kultur Gemma, to say thank you to VIENNADESIGN, and to thank you to Natalia. And also welcome Sebastian, who's going to moderate the talk. Looking forward.
Thanks for a nice introduction, words. Hi, I'm Sebastian. I'm your host for this day, and panel discussion. A short introduction to myself. I'm currently studying at the University of Vienna, and there I'm also active at the LH, that's the student representation. And there I work at the working class students department. In our department, we are often faced with students from working class backgrounds, having struggles and issues with acclimating themselves to the university. I could imagine that also other fields, not just the academic world, have a lot of barriers, and I'm glad that this panel discussion is happening right now, and we can talk about some maybe unseen barriers. We have 90 minutes to dig deeper into the topic of barriers. Especially with emphasis on design. And just for your knowledge, I planned about 60 minutes panel discussion with my speakers, and then I would open discussion for the audience. Just out of curiosity, can anybody who has heard of the word class system just raise their hands, because in my department a lot of people don't know about, my university, a lot of people don't know about this concept. I just want to check in if we should maybe elaborate a bit further. So could anyone who knows about the term class system just raise their hands? Okay, come to you, thanks.
Very informed from.
Yeah. Okay, then I don't like to introduce people, so I would give you the chance to introduce yourself and the organization you represent, and maybe emphasize a bit on the key thinkings you brought into this panel. Maybe we start with Jeffrey and then go further on to Gemma. Yeah.
We can, but you're a bit not loud enough. We'll try to make you louder.
Can you try again?
That's better.
I can't hear you now, but
maybe now.
Is it working?
I can hear you now. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, hi, I'm Jeffrey Heidelbergs. I'm joining you actually from Sydney at the moment. I had to travel halfway across the world because we had a family emergency. But I'm here to join. I'm happy to be here. So yeah, I'm Jeffrey. I have my own design studio called the Future Prospects Lab, which is a design consultancy where I facilitate process research and prototyping. I help companies to create a better idea around their future vision. And next to that, I'm the founder of One Square Meter Collective, and that's also why I'm here tonight. One Square Meter Collective is a Dutch collective that we founded last year. And we are trying to fight the elitism within the design community, and that really based on like financial resources and financial inclusion, because we think as designers it's really hard to showcase your work in big international events, and we thought we needed to come up with an idea to actually tackle this and create a platform for young talent that doesn't have the network or resources to be able to join those events. So we that's also where the name One Square Meter Collective comes from. We literally put One Square Meter Collective at the Dutch Design Week, where we showcased 18 design pieces. So it was quite a lot of work crammed into 1 square meter, but the idea was if we buy this 1 square meter with a lot of people participating in this event, will give us the opportunity to show the work for a way lower price. In the end, we were very lucky because we were able to show our work in Van Abbe Museum, and they gave us a place for free because they really believed in the mission that we had. That's where I met Gabriel, and that's where the collaboration with Natalia came forward and gemma. And we were very excited to mentor this project, and we're also working very hard again for our second exhibition this year at the Dutch Design Week in Eindhoven.
Thanks, Jeffrey. I forgot to mention One Square Meter Collective, but of course they played an important role in the whole project that Natalia did as mentors, and they will continue to do so when she finishes up her work. Hi, I'm Gabriel. I'm the director of Vienna Design Week and have been so for the last 2 years. Before that, I had already worked for Vienna Design Week for a couple of years. Vienna Design Week, you probably all know something about it since you're here, but it's a multidisciplinary design event in Vienna. It's been going for almost 17 years and tries to cover not only a lot of design disciplines and include lots of different design professionals, but also a wide audience. Tries to stay open and get people excited about the possibilities of design as a tool to bring people together, to create meaningful objects, and to create value for society as well. We try to organize a festival alongside a couple of different formats. Some of them we try to have very open calls for people to apply to, where people also don't need to necessarily come from a professional design background. Could have different backgrounds. For instance, Natalia, who's an artist, but that is just one example. Other things we've been doing is, for instance, long-running, over 10 years, a social design project called Stadtarbeit, which also collects projects via an open call, and that tries to link design with the public space, with society, and trying to further it as a discipline that brings people closer together with the tools of design. and that also reaches out to people who might maybe run social initiatives or see themselves as activists in knowledge design process.
Great. Okay, now I think it's my turn. I'm Natalia. I'm an artist. I came from Russia 8 years ago to Austria. Before that, I had been working as a journalist for more than 10 years in Moscow for different media, international media as well. Then it was kind of hard to work as a journalist there, and I always wanted kind of to change and to do art. And then I came to Vienna and started to study. First at Anhand, at the moment I study at the Academy of Fine Arts. I study sculpture and work mostly with objects and materials. Sometimes, like this time, I do collective projects. I also work actually at the Academy of Fine Arts creating students' shows. And now we have a show which is about class and capital in art. I also recommend you to see it. It's running till mid of October at the main building of the Academy at Schillerplatz. And yes, I was very happy to apply for Kulturbereich. As far as you know, Kulturbereich is an organization which supports artists with migrant background who live in Austria. And every year they have several scholarships and a couple of fellowships. Scholarship is when you work independently as an artist on a project, and fellowship when you work within the institution. And I applied for fellowship, which was a collaboration between Vienna Design and Kulturbereich. And my proposal was based on limited resources as a migrant, like based on my own biography and my own observations. I noticed when you come to a new place in society, in your country, you most of the time have limited resources. You can't have, I don't know, enough money to furnish your house. And also in Vienna, as you know, when you rent a flat, it's mostly empty. And I noticed sometimes people got creative because of these limitations. They, I don't know, build some kind of weird constructions in their houses, like shelf system, or two double beds, or like whatever. And then I thought I would like to work with this idea of limitations, and because I work with a sculpture, I wanted to make something myself. And I produced a couple of pieces for Vienna Design Week, like a chair, a bench, and 2 tables. And then I also thought I want to make my own open call within this fellowship. I made my own open call with help of Kulturbereich and Vienna Design Week, and got like 18 applications from different people. Actually, not all from Austria. There were some other countries too. And then I decided to choose 6 people with whom I would like to work and share my resources, because like every month I get this money for the fellowship for Kulturbereich, and I thought, okay, it would be good to invite people and to give them artist fee and give them pay them production cost for their work. This is what I think it's important to share your resources, and because some of them, they're very different people. Like 3 of them came from Ukraine, also now fleeing from war. Some of them were living in Austria quite some time, from Serbia, from Poland, from Iran, and but still, like they're also very different, have very different age range. Some of them, like one of them was 19 years old and she never studied art, and one of them was 46 years old who even was teaching in Ukraine 20 years, but it's totally different art system there and a totally different social system there. So it was for me interesting also to work with people who have different backgrounds and like different resources, of course, in different capacities. And yes, now it's on view in Esterhazygas 22. It's called Liquid House. Also welcome you all to see this exhibition. It's everyone made some pieces, and also with a great help of course, Vienna Design Week and One Meter Square Collective, I developed this project. It was also part of the the fellowship that I got mentorship. Jeffrey was my mentor, and we still continue. And he last week even came to Vienna to also support the project, which was very great. And yeah, so we'll continue because according to the rules of fellowship in December or January, I'm not sure yet. It will be like a final presentation of all scholars and all fellows of Kulturbereich somewhere in Vienna. I can't still share you the place where it will be. It's still discussed under discussion. Yes. What else? Yeah, I think that's it for now. But yes, I will tell more also until later.
Yes, it's my turn because there is no one else. My name is Jelena Micic, and I am the first third country national director in Vienna, most probably. I am artistic director of VIENNOche. If you haven't heard about VIENNOche, it's a festival that is in the city since 11 years. It is a festival for art and activism, and I have to express I'm really sad that Marisa Lobo from Kulturbereich is not here today to kind of support her very strong activist position of Black people of color, communities in Vienna. So we are not challenged enough today here, but I send her greetings. So to come back to VIENNOche. So as we figured out that we are taking place at the completely same time this year, we try to conceptualize some programs that will benefit both positions. We're a festival which is funded, completely supported by the city of Vienna, which is both plus and minus. We can talk about this. It's a festival for mostly, let's call it like this, migrant culture in Vienna. It's the main thing is to give access to the people living here, no matter how their permit and Aufenthalt status here is. So from non-citizen to so-called third country nationals, to stateless people, asylum seekers. We are really trying to include everyone who is interested in taking part at VIENNOche and show the production which is happening within this community. I'm glad that we are having this exchange because the visibility of migrant and post-migrant and non-integrated part of the second and third generation of guest workers who are actually Austrians but are not part of the society is not enough visible. So the festival is happening at the moment until 25th, completely same as Vienna Design Week. As we are an eco event, I'm not allowed to actively distribute advertising material because our annual topic, working class ecologists, is also caring about our environment. So feel free to go to our website or social media platforms and come to our events. Tonight we have a very special event around women in organizing. So we have several lawyers from international trade unions who are meeting and exchanging on the issue of why is there not a unified struggle between migrant and a bit broader, let's say, community. And I guess I would like to hear the questions of Sebastian before I kind of continue and overwhelm everyone, I guess.
Thanks. I would like to ask Natalia and Tanya, maybe can you give us a perspective on barriers you face as artists getting into the kind of design industry, what problems do you face, and maybe you also talk about that you support other people with your fellowship, and maybe you can share also a bit about their experiences and they told you about the barriers they survived.
Yes, thank you for the question. Well, I can only say that yes, it's the topic of the meeting is classism in design, but I'm an artist, so I can actually more speak about artists, like struggles that artists have coming from different countries here to Austria or to Western Europe, and I would say it starts also, I mean, it's a very deep and long question because it starts even from your background, where you were. For example, if you're born in a family where artists are, it's one life. And if you're born in a family, like I was born in a family with no artists, like I grew up in a very small place in Russia, in the northern Russia, where like two bookshops are. So of course it influences your way, how you live, like how you go, how you grew up, what kind of connections you have. And then it kind of always follows you. Also, even to your artistic choices. For example, I don't know, was this famous artist Klein who grew up in the family of very traditional artists, and he started to experiment with a very early age. And I think if he would born in a different family, he would never like come to this way so fast, for example. And of course, it always goes. And of course, there are some also structural issues. Like I came here to Austria to study art, and I'm still a student auch, which only allows me to work 20 hours legally per week, and not to earn more than a certain amount of money, which already like a limitation. Of course, it's a language thing. Even if I learn German or speak German, it's like still not the same level. And also, what other things that there are a lot of invisible things which kind of on your way. For example, how you come to the community, why you are why you are perceived in this way as an artist, why you are invited to these parties and not invited to these parties, why you are not invited to these places, why curators not approach you but approach some others. Like you always can see it also on a very even when you study in academy, like fine arts or like some other university, you see it like maybe several people do the same thing, similar works, similar quality, but only like one or two going like getting the success and attention, and others not. And it's not sometimes about the quality of the work; it's just some other reasons. And very often you can't even formulate it very obvious. You can say yes because they are not from this country, they are not parting with these people, but it kind of comes very often this way, and this I think I can divide it as a structural struggles, which like these are issues in documents and papers, and like some invisible things you can't really penetrate being like a third country in a Western society. It's you also still can of course use all the official ways, like open calls. This is great that it exists, but still there are some other ways which you never can go in because you are not part of it. Like, yes, and coming back to the people who work with me, they also like part of them on this student visa, part of them on this like special. They have asylum status because they came from Ukraine. The main question from them, they don't know how the system functions because it's a lot of transparent things. This I would say about art world. It's always was like this geschlossene, so it's like it's kind of, even if it's part of economy, it's not. It doesn't have the same structures and the same doors as other parts have. For example, like industries, you always have to struggle with this transparency. Find ways. Like people ask me, like, I mean, it's very like banal because they came, I mean, from Ukraine. It's totally different story. They came, why I come to this gallery? I offer, like, I show them my portfolio. Why they don't want even to look at it? Why they just threw it away immediately to the trash bin? Like, it's really hard to explain. Yes, you know, here it doesn't work like this in Austria. You should be introduced by a friend. Like, it should be some kind of a closed group that tells, you're a good artist, and then maybe your portfolio, maybe that you work and maybe offer you something, maybe not. And this is like the most things. And of course, people still coming back to these visa issues, of course. Now, I mean, it's really a horrible situation in Russia and Ukraine, and don't know how they could also stay here, what they can do, like also with these 20 hours which allow you to work is really problematic. And yeah, there are more questions than answers, and yeah, people mostly complain about this intransparent structure. Yes, maybe also, I don't know, maybe Jeffrey also can say add something to that, because it has.
I wanted to add something to your. I think that most of the people who come here to study from so-called third countries or so-called third country nationals, which is also a very large area, also within Europe, but not part of European Union. Very important. Never identify EU with Europe. They cannot afford to go on parties when the beer costs $2.50 and their working hours is €5. You know, like, so if you go there and you want to stay, for example, it's an amazing, you know, like, class exhibition. Even you're at this fancy privileged academy and you want to stay until 1 or 2, you have to wake up in the morning and go to clean. You know, like, and this is. Or you have to stop at some point throughout the day or lectures in order to go to work. So this is something that was never, let's say, understood by the teaching staff. And there was never understanding towards you not being able to follow the whole program just because you have to also live here from your own work and not support from different ways. We also had an event some days ago about artist visa, because artist visa is another type of stay along with student visa, which usually, like for students who finish academy, some of them switch to artist visa. Artist visa is a very restricted way, and as one of the lawyers on this basically presentation we had in collaboration with DEPO said that. Artists or foreign artists are understood as like business people. You know, you are seen as someone who is bringing in like money to this society. So you are forced, because you want to renew your artist visa, to go over this tax limit. So you need to pay taxes. You're forced to pay. You are a taxpayer, but you're not a voter here, so you don't have any, let's say, possibility to influence any political decisions. And this is something that is very, let's say, disproportional. On the one side, you contribute to the society in terms of like economic value, but then your opinion is not at all present in like political debate. And I'm glad that we're here to at least try to talk about these things very openly and without shame. Because artists are usually ashamed to say that they're workers. Artists usually think, yes, I would prefer, even though they're self-employed, they prefer, or like, let's say, oscillate more toward this angestellte position, while, yeah, like they never kind of really understand that as well. Like care workers in Austria are also, their status is also regulated as like self-employed persons. So both artists and care workers are self-employed, but these two groups, they never meet because they have like different affiliations. So the care workers think they're workers and artists think they're angestellte. Like for me, as someone who's coming from some other country to Austria, for me this split of like different labor laws for different ways of employment was something very new and definitely a structural problem that needs to be solved somehow. Because, for example, as a self-employed artist, there are some Interessengemeinschaften, there are some organizations that represent your causes, but there is no union to the extent, you know, if something happens to you, what do you do? I mean, as an artist, who is going to support you? In which way? Maybe if you're a company, you're a small kleine Unternehmer. Yes, aber okay, this is then another. So then there's this parallel between business models of art, like foreign art seen as business or like as a company.
Thanks for that addition. Yeah, then I would go to Jeffrey, and the two speakers before kind of mentioned that there's a kind of image of the art scene where you have a wealthy background and don't need to work but you can solely focus on art or doing art by yourself. Could you give more insights into structural dynamics in the art scene and what kind of barriers are there, in addition to what you already heard?
Sorry, I'm having problems understanding you, Sebastian. Maybe because you're not in the screen. Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. Could you, the speakers before kind of focused on how there's an image of art, that you don't need to work, that you are not a worker, and that you have kind of a wealthy background to create art. And could you emphasize more on the structural dynamic of art and politics and how people create art and what kind of barriers are there on top of the already barriers we heard?
Okay, yeah, I think I understood the question. Yeah, I think they're like when I'm not an artist. First of all, I'm from a different scene as design, so sometimes I feel like it's kind of different approach. We only have the same paid for the work that we actually do. Like in a lot of cases, people don't take our job serious. It's something that we like to do, so why would we be paid for something that we like to do? And also, and of course, like I'm speaking more from like the Dutch perspective of the design community, because I don't really know how it goes in Austria. I haven't been involved long enough to be part of that or understand how it works. But for some reason, there has been the community that has been created. It became very normal for young talent to be exploited when they come out of school, working for no money or like really low money, and always they always pull the exposure card, saying like, if you want to make it in this industry, you need to get some exposure first. You need to show your work for free. You need to work for free. You need to build a network, etc. But I also feel like, and that's maybe where the politics get involved, that's not for everyone. I've struggled with it a lot. I'm not from a background, I've been talking about it, saying like my parents aren't artists, neither are mine. Like I also come from a background. Can you guys still hear me? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, all good. Okay. I also come from a background where there were never a lot of financial resources, but my parents always really tried to stimulate to go to school and study, make the most of it. They always said to me, like, it's like buying a house, it's an investment into your future, you just need to go for it, and you're paying your study loan, you will figure out when you start working. And then, yeah, you get into a school, which I didn't know was very prestigious, Design Academy in Eindhoven. I just signed up because I really liked the program and what they were doing and the work that was coming from there. But then you get introduced to a lot of people that actually come from very wealthy backgrounds, and then they don't even understand the value of money, if you ask me. No, but I don't want to talk bad about them because they're very nice people. But when it comes to money, it's two completely different worlds. It's insane, and I don't want to dive too deep in the whole situation of what happened to me in that school, but there was lots of financial discrimination going on within the institute as well, also by teachers, which was very horrible for me. But then you graduate and it becomes even worse, because I ended up in that pool of people with no financial resources, no network. I don't have interesting parents with, fancy gallery or being a CEO of an engineering company. And it took me almost 10 years to kind of put my name out there and be recognized by the industry, because I couldn't buy myself into the industry. And that went along with a lot of exploitation. Like I've worked in a lot of projects for way like barely no money, which is ridiculous because you need to make a living of the work you do. Yeah, it's just really tough. Like I think it's a very underestimated topic within the whole design community and also art. I've heard it from Natalia and other people. And there's also, I think, a lot of shame around it, because it's quite an elitist environment. People have money, spend a lot of money on art and design, and they always show like the bright side of all these projects and all the stuff that is created. But then the downside, like the whole financial side of it, and like buying yourself into an event, for example, like that's why we started Wants to Be a Collective, is like there's so many young artists out there that can't make the cut or can't make it within the industry or like get that platform to show their work with real talent, like they're really talented. It's not money buying them into the program, no, they just have, you know, raw talent, which is amazing. But it's like, yeah, these barriers, especially financial barriers, make it really hard to be part of this industry. And honestly, like, I'm super happy to contribute in that sense. Like, I always said, like, as soon as I have a little network for myself and I became a someone, just doing this because, you know, I don't want to brag about myself, but when I become a someone, I'll make sure that when I have my foot in the door, that the door will be open for other people, because I know how hard it is to get in if you don't have any resources. And I think a lot, like 75% of the people within a community of art and design are not even aware of these issues. And I mean, they're not only addressing the financial side of stuff, like I'm not talking about also being an immigrant in a country and not having access to schooling or not being able to go to school full-time because you have to work next to it, etc. I'm not sure if this is a good answer to your question, but that's what I would like wanted to add to this two stories told already before.
That's super, thanks. I would continue to Gabriel. I quite like your opening statement about people clapping on the shoulder openly are. Do you have any thoughts why this is the way it is? Or what's the function of this whole process?
Well, I think it's one of the things that really is the job of art or design is to create, that they perceive themselves as being in a position to create some new stuff and create new connections. Be that between concepts, be that between materials, be that between people, and in most cases, or in many cases at least, this creating new stuff and creating new connections. It's a good thing to be open. It's like something that you like to see yourself as. And I wouldn't even go as far as to assume that a lot of people have bad intentions. I don't think, and I would agree with Jeffrey that it's a lack of awareness, and it's a lack of having a set of criteria to what to look for when looking for exclusion. But in fact, it's the other way around, that the people being in should have the responsibility to see these barriers, but at the same time, for a lot of reasons, it's very hard for them to see, especially if they don't listen to the people who are outside. And this becomes even harder when they are proud of having created what they perceive as an open context, and they've in their understanding removed the barriers, so that there is really, it's not that there is no need to talk to the people who are outside of the barriers. In their definition, there are no people outside of the barriers, and if the people don't turn up, if the people don't apply to their open calls, if the people don't come to their events, apparently they're not interested. And this ends up being a very convenient solution, that not to have to attribute additional resources or additional energy to actually create an active invitation to people who are outside of your context. And but it's all down to the fact that it's not always seen as the responsibility of the person who is inside of the context to look out. And this, as Jeffrey has described, I mean, is creating a design scene where, in a lot of cases, it's this concept in the gaming industry, right? Pay to win. So you're playing a game. Maybe the game is free, you know, but in order to be as good as others, you need to buy stuff. So in order to have the best diploma project, you need to buy the better materials. And in order to make it after if you've graduated, you have to be part of the fancy residencies, but in order to be at the residency, you have to quit your job. And these are just, the residency is open, anyone can join. There's no problem with the accessibility to the residency, but no one considers the contextual factors that might make it really hard or impossible for someone who hasn't got the money to join. And so then that leaves the question, what do we need to fix? What do we need to change about this residency that it actually works for more people, especially when the people who run the residency say, I'm not creating any barriers. It's open. Anyone can apply. It's free. There you go. And that's a bit of a complicated question. And I think, and this is another topic that is much more wide. What a broken term design is, and that even more than with art, when you start to talk to a lot of people about design, they will have assumptions about it that are immediately exclusive, and for good reasons, because a large part of the design industry and a large part of the design field is very exclusive, and so this is pretty much set in stone that if you talk to the so-called normal person on the street and you tell them, what I really like, I really like design, and they'd be like, what, this expensive stuff that no one can afford, and that is even more impractical than the cheap stuff. Why should I deal with this? This is not helping me in my life. This is not empowering me to do anything. Why should I deal with this in my life? And then on this basis to start a conversation where it's like, yes, that this is design and this is maybe design that's going in the wrong direction, but a lot of other stuff is also design. You can't even escape it, because either you deal with it or not, but if you're not dealing it, other people will do that for you and you don't have a say. Or design can actually be a tool for you to have some agency. This is not the ideal starting point. And this starting point is created by like a huge marketing machine that tells the story of design being a luxury product. It tells the story of design being something you need to aspire to, and not something that is there for you. And I don't have the answer to how to break this open or to fix the term of design, but it's something that in our festival work we struggle with daily, because we just lose people that we really want to talk to, and it's not because of the conversations we are trying to have with them, but because we can't start the conversation even because of the headline we operate under. But at the same time, I can't really change the headline, because this is like some sort of definition that we've all come to.
But if we come to this moment of responsibility, maybe the ones who are already within the circle, they don't need to look out. I think that there needs to be some dialogue created, because otherwise, if Natalia and me come here and face you with this very vulnerable, those are like the facts that we give today, they can endanger our stay in Austria. We have to essentialize ourselves and define ourselves in this or that category, or just in order to show the example. I don't want to be an example, and I am the first one who never wanted to be seen as the ex-Yugoslav female artist. Those are the categories that you're forced to work with in order to be able to show an example. The question is, do you want to become the representative of the community so that you can address the problem? This is also another thing. Do you I think we need to make kind of a conversations, and I think today there is this conversation between, you know, the festivals that run very differently but have very similar interests this year especially. I think it's very important to start the dialogue without saying whose responsibility it is, and you know, because it affects people in many ways.
But that, I mean, this dialogue, I think, you know, this is something we talk a lot about in the festival. Is, you know, creating these spaces outside of the business as usual, right? This is what we try to do for the companies that we work with. You know, they are doing something very well, but they might not realize how what they're doing really well is going. You know, doesn't even have to be a wrong direction, but it's hard to change direction when it's going good, you know. But maybe you need to change direction.
Like there's one small thing that I saw recently, and that Aubrey advertisement started. They started advertising this. You can search our engine in different languages. So finally, the migrants are seen as like consumers in Austria. And this is something which is very new to me. I started like this is just a phenomenon that I'm still don't understand completely, but it's happening, and I just wanted to address this.
Yes.
This context
It's
as well.
Baumarkt, like a Baumarkt.
Yeah, but search through in different languages.
Yes.
This was yes. You saw it as well.
Yeah, I saw it. It was for me really also very surprising because it was in Ukrainian and then in other languages, and I thought why. And of course, art and design, it's like also part of the economy and the market, and art like creates this symbolic value, but it's very hard also to define it in many economical terms. It's very problematic. But when like this global capitalism start to find ways how to, I don't know,
Address.
internalize, yes, like kind of consume it, that's already yes, then it gets another role and kind of becomes more important and usable, yes, usable for capital, etc., etc. Yeah, like something.
Vienna touched the topic.
But someone actually wanted to ask me if it's okay.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
I really enjoy this conversation, especially from your side. It's not about voices not being heard, but not being spaces be amplified. And so my question to you, Gabriel, is after listening to this and maybe watching the video again, what structural changes do you think that the festival will need? I mean, the core team, put up women representation, you got it, you're basically the token guy. But you need to maybe also review who you're employing and maybe add some positive discrimination. Positive discrimination means basically kind of making sure that the doors are open to people who are not being heard. And also with the idea of being able to have a space in the festival. We've noticed it has to do with access and the opportunities that arise from that access, and most of that access goes down to costs. Can you imagine yourself restructuring the festival preparations and the festival itself next year to invite those that are not being seen into the scene?
That was actually the direction I was going for when I said, you know, create these bubbles outside of the business as usual. I think this is where, you know, I was, as the festival director, really grateful for the Gemma collaboration, because it created one of those bubbles where we'd be like, okay, this is something where we can try this out. This is something where we can try to get our invitation to take part into new communities. The representation within the team is a super tricky question, and we are aware of it. But this is also something where we need to kind of step into other communities to.
You just need a good lawyer.
Well, I mean, no, I'm not even. You know, this is not even. You know, I'm not even that far as saying like, okay, we want to employ third-party nationals, but even just people with a different background. You know, who might have the Austrian citizenship.
There's a small danger here with term diversity in my understanding. I am completely for diversity, but diversity sometimes doesn't take in consideration the question of citizenship, unfortunately, or not enough. And this is something that we definitely have to structurally change in Austria. Because, for example, if you want to apply to one of the academies to work there, there is like positive discrimination already written in the open call, but it excludes on this point where it doesn't, like in the recent years, say permanent residency, because permanent residency actually enables access to the labor market. So they just want people who have immediate access to the labor market, and most of the non-citizens don't have, even though they live here 10, 20 years, you know.
So it's like a double barrier, it's just there.
It's there, but
It's there, but it means nothing.
Yeah, but this is I think in our festival a lot of the opportunities are there. I think the formats are there. For instance, the social design format. This is it's an open call. It's a funded project, so you get money to do something in the festival. I mean, it's not like a lottery win, but it's something. It's a bit of money that you could do something with. This is not something that is limited to any. You know, we have international projects, so you can have any nationality. You don't have to be allowed to have a job in Austria in order to run a Schattenberg project. And so I think the challenge with that is to take this information that you can apply to do a project like that into the right context and bring that somewhere where people can do something with this. And of course, nowadays these contexts are like, you know, Angewandte and the class is there, and a couple of like communities around that. But I think the format would hugely benefit from this, you know, just this PDF with the open call document going somewhere else. And there, I think something like the fellowship is a first step to also get feedback on how this could work better. You know, maybe we have to get the open call document translated into other languages. Maybe we have to I don't know, reach out to certain, for lack of better words, ambassadors to carry this on to their people. But it's a matter of getting to know them, and so yeah, we just have to step out onto like a different platform with this, and then to find out whether the formats as they are work in other contexts as well as they, or at least similarly well to the people they're involved in right now.
I would also like to add something to that if I can, because I do want to applaud you, Gabriel, for setting this up, because I mean, I've been pretty straight up with you about that we do want to work with Vienna Design Week, but under certain conditions, and it's like one, the person that's getting involved will be paid, and the people that I need to, mobilize within the Netherlands to mentor Natalia also will be paid. And you already did that, so I mean, I feel like in that sense, it's also important to have certain people in certain positions within certain institutes. And because of your attitude, I feel like this project happened, and I think that's really amazing because it's really nice. I mean, I'm also within the Netherlands, and it's a little bit more complicated. Like, we don't have a really good rapport with the organization of the festival because they didn't like what we did last year, and they're not open to listen to us, and that change needs to be created. And you were, like, I mean, yeah, I do want to applaud you for that because I think it's really nice and you really made work out of it with your team to set up that fellowship that built Gemma, and that's why we found Natalia, and I think the outcome is amazing because, I mean, it shows that when you don't have resources or little resources, you actually have to be way more creative than a lot of other people in the festival, no offense, and that the outcome is really also challenging the aesthetics of design and the stuff that we're used to within these big festivals. Like, there is a certain aesthetic that everyone kind of leans towards, and that's something that we need to break out of as well if we want to create this change, because within those aesthetics, I think there is not enough representation And I think by doing projects like this, you show that there's more beyond the boundaries that we know, and that's really good. And yeah, I'm really happy about that and the result. And also something that we, for example, do as a collective. And then again, it's about representation and finding the right people and putting the right people at spots where decisions need to be made. We as a platform, we only facilitate, so we do all the logistics behind the actual exhibition at the Dutch Design Week and facilitating the open call. But when it comes down to decision making, we really do our best to find people outside of our network that can have a huge contribution to the career of those young professionals that sign up. Sometimes they're not even related to design, because we think it's also important to have a different perspective, because I mean, the general public visiting that are not designers have a completely different understanding of these projects than we have as creatives. And also by giving them the responsibility to like select works, you get a completely different perspective on the design, and a completely different perspective. Like you get a completely different group of people that you have to represent in such a festival. And I think within like all these institutes and big organizations, I think what needs to happen is that some people need to leave and create spaces for people that actually are open-minded and willing to listen and willing to create change, and put that foot in the door to create opening for other people's, and also not scared of challenging the things that we know, because otherwise it's just going to be, we're going to be stuck in that loop with the same people, with the same network, and the same, it's always going to be the same people being pushed forward. And if we put more focus and more emphasis on finding other people and creating better representation in the industry, then I think that's the way forward. I think that's what we need to do. We need to not be scared of change or showing something that we're not used to, but just go for it and see what happens, and just be proud of what you present. Like I'm like super proud of what we together with Natalia showed at the VIENNA Design Week. And it was not in my hands, it wasn't even in your hands, this was all in Natalia's hands, and we just had the privilege to guide her, which was amazing. I really enjoyed working within this context, and I've learned a lot from it as well. Again, like I met some amazing people, and it changed my perspective on a lot of stuff again. I think we need more of that. I don't know if anyone agrees, but that's kind of how I feel about it. And hand over responsibility and also decisions to people that actually know a lot about change and know how to contribute to this and give proper feedback on that, and not be scared of it either. I mean, it's going to hurt anyway. It's a tough conversation, and it's part of change, I would say.
Yeah, but I think this matters. Sorry.
Audience?
Yeah, many topics I wanted to attach have been talked about individually, but still, also to summarize or to state certain terms within the design and the art fields anyway of this, that it is an exclusive thing, and all this networking needed, etc. This is maybe for everyone, and of course, also is it Austrian, non-Austrian, but in different intensities, but we all have chosen a very difficult field and a very competitive field and so on, but still we have to get aware of power and privilege. And there are so many areas, etc., which have been talked about partly already, but still getting aware of it, and there is so much expertise also here in Vienna. There are so many people and networks and EGs, etc., not only at the university but also outside of the university, where it is possible to get to know a lot of answers on these questions, also to change things which are structurally implemented in these systems, in the boards, in the decision-making positions and so on. There is so much structurally implemented discrimination against people facing classism, but also this intersectional perspective from classism, which is so important, which makes it so different. I would hardly recommend to, I would quite recommend to make a difference between diversity and internationalism, because of course we have a lot of international artists, people of color, etc., being represented in very prestigious exhibitions or design shows, but they have a wealthy background. This is very, very often happening. We have someone here from Africa in an exhibition, but these people are coming also from an African background of a very good and high education and a network of parents, etc. It's very often happening, so we are only doing kind of diversity washing. So this change of decision-making positions is something what I can so much recommend. That as soon as you diversify your curatorship, the artistic directions, the boards, the juries, you have multi-perspectivity and a polyphony. Also, while making your program, while choosing how to set up an open call and how to distribute it. And this is such a, it's such a good way on this long journey we have to do together, of course, to, I don't know, to also live up with sociopolitical realities in our society, because this is mostly not represented in what we see in exhibitions and institutions.
But in the design field, I feel like, and this is a super painful reality, most people don't even do diversity washing. I mean, I think we're on a different level than the art world. It's hard to find designers from with a migration background, or designers of color, even from privileged and rich but wealthy backgrounds. Even that is hard. And then if we're talking about boards and juries and so on, this is such a long process, because you have to you have to as a society put people from a different background in a position where you would be able to put them in a jury or a board. You can't put them on the jury or a board first and then they become professor. This is where the cat bites its own tail. And exactly.
And they cannot fight for their rights because they cannot politically organize. They cannot organize a protest. Also, as an EU citizen outside of Austria, you also cannot register a protest in Austria. You have to be Austrian citizen to be organizing a protest in Austria. So yeah, it's a long way, seems like.
But this is, that's where I also appreciate your perspective on, like, is it imaginable that this long way has a shortcut? Like, what are the shortcuts that we can create? If we're thinking about these bubbles outside of the business as usual, maybe we can sort of cross through one of those and cut a bit off the long way we need to go. And what would they have to do?
I'd like to ask a higher question. I think at the beginning you mentioned you have an exhibition about class and capitalism. Could capitalism be the common ground, how we organize society, how we organize work and resources to get a more better art and science scene? Or do you see any other kind of discriminations that are being addressed right now, because there are more serious issues? Yes.
You mean anti-capitalism or capitalism? It's hard to say what is anti-capitalism actually, how it should be. That's the problem. I think it's not only me facing it, it's like also scientists centuries for years and decades discussing this topic. But yes, no, I think it should be definitely restructured, because the problem of it is to create artist, like you know, is just only created by the most expensive artists, like you know, big Jeff Koons and Hearst and others. So all these prices, they just it's not like actually the value of the thing. It's just the bubble and the society created that. It's hard to say. No, it should be of course abstracted. I mean, the problem which I see that also in terms of art school, it's time and time and resources. If all people, doesn't matter what kind of skills they have, if they would have equal time for work and something and equal resources, it would be a great progress for everyone. And I think that's the thing also. That's also what we discussed before. Like background, access to knowledge, access to resources in different communities. Yes, I think. Yeah, we were like here criticizing, but also I also feel kind of privileged like being here in Austria, and I feel like even like so many open calls and so many things where I can't apply, there are still some I can apply which actually didn't exist in other places. This is also great, but if it could be still more diverse and still more, yeah, still maybe some other things could be created to get these resources and to get this time. For example, Diskriminierung. I think that would be a great thing if all artists could get something like that, and to have this couple of hundred euros per month that they should at least be stressed about how to pay the rent. That already could ease their life a lot, and to give them this time, and they will do everything themselves. I think people just need some tools and some more support, and then they will do things by themselves also. Design and art, yes, but also what Gabriel was talking about bubbles and things, and you, Lena, like there are so many people with migrant background and also third nationals who just don't know that these things exist. They don't know that this Vienna Design Week exists. They don't know that these open calls exist. It's not because they're not part of the field, but there are reasons why they're not part of the field. They just not the way that it's possible to make a step and to try it also. I think that's also the biggest issue. They don't know that they could get some support. It's a possibility to ask for it. That's, I think, also makes it very problematic. I mean, I'm privileged also because I knew that I can study at least at the academy, or I can get this support there, but it's not everyone with this.
And this also makes it, I think it was, the term was already mentioned, feedback. We only get very, very little feedback because, you know, these conversations are not established. And for us, it's hard to do that on our own, but we still have the responsibility in a way. But yeah. We haven't found the channels yet. I think this is the core to get this information out and get some feedback back.
I have a question from Bella. Are there kind of ways to overcome barriers when we could look at other kind of social movements like the feminist movement? Especially people who are faced with racism or classism can learn to organize and how can to interact with each other and can learn to find some common ground. Or do you think, like, what would your answer be?
I think that we have to acknowledge struggles of single communities because they're very important. But I also think that we should definitely once and for all figure out that there should be like, or they are, in my opinion, like bigger causes or like common struggles that we can all benefit from. This is not happening still because there is so much separation within, like, especially the leftist movements, because I think somehow still the discourse also on the academic level also as I like to say, copy-paste from the US, identity politics is very strong still. In not only art discourse, but like generally in the discourse of the society. And I think that once we understand that we have common grounds that we can all work on, no matter how, let's say, important it is for a special group to fight for this or that, that would be somehow the way. So I think that in this edition of Wienwoche, we really try to address this or propose this intersectional, transnational, intergenerational struggle, and we somehow concentrated or suggested, this is just artistic, ways of kind of thinking about the societal problems. We kind of concentrated it around the question of labor, like this huge precarization which is happening, and how we all are affected by this. On the other side, we are all affected by the climate crisis, and this is something that we somehow, some parts of the society can't afford to think about. So definitely like this increasing precarization, stronger care movement, and realizing that we all influence the environment in different ways, bigger or smaller, and like we cannot just do greenwashing by buying a cup of coffee in a specific, place. We should really see that like we're all responsible for what is happening to all of us.
Statement. Anybody like to add something? Disagree?
Well, I think when it comes to the to this balance, this link between ecological and social sustainability, and the realization that they're closely linked, that you can't have the one without the other, or the one without the other is meaningless. There I really believe strongly that design is a key to achieve that. And this is also why, I mean, if design was rubbish, there's no point in anyone who wants to be included, fair enough. But I want to include more people in this design discourse because I think it's relevant, and because I think it can make a difference. And also the opposite, it can only be relevant if there's a certain representation of the diversity of people living here. And but yeah, addressing these two huge topics, or these two interlinked topics, this is where I see in the coming years, or like also in the past years, one of the big jobs that this tool set to design is well equipped for.
I definitely believe more in political organization. That's why I work with the Festival for Art and Activism. So we should get this part of activism. There are different ways to try to reshape some models and systematic discriminations in the society, and I think it can only come from a unified struggle. So this is what we are working on. Yeah, I don't know how much art can contribute to this, of course, in the sense of discourse, but like directly with kind of involving. I have serious doubts about this. This is something we can discuss, I guess.
I also agree with you. I think there are a lot of people who benefit from the existing system, like big companies, politicians, etc. So the things don't change just because there are so many people who are interested in the things in the world how it is now, and it's still like it's kind of a bit unequal struggle between those who want this change and those who kind of still benefit with the existing status quo. smaller community and some kind of dramatic change in the minds, so that everyone, as you said, can contribute and just struggle for that. Otherwise, everything will be like this. It's also what they see like in this design and art communities, when people kind of achieve certain level in their career, then kind of before maybe they have this idea, yes, we are like want to be equal, like we want to struggle, we want to fight for that, but then they kind of got what they needed, and they kind of, yeah, now everything is fine, and that's like on another side, so I think it shouldn't come this way, so still, yeah.
But can we maybe hear a comment from you, Sebastian? Because actually, like our moderator today organized a set of lectures and presentations on the topic of class matter. This is how you call it. Can you maybe give us your perspective as well? Because like I don't see your role here only as a moderator, but someone who is like somehow like it's possible for you to at least try to actively shape, you know, the politics at least on the university level at the moment, right? As a student representative. let's change the direction.
I mean, I think there are a lot of systematically systems that, like Natalia mentioned, you need to get into it, and then on the way to get through them, you can't really change them because you have lost so much on the way to get to this place. So I don't think there is a way of creating a better society within a given condition. So we need to abolish them and try to overcome the ways we live, we organize ourselves, how we organize work, how we allocate resources to people, how we interact with our environment. And I think that's systematically based on capitalism, and I think it's the root of a lot of struggles we face. So I think activists who fight on capitalism could be the way to overcome barriers, but I also think that there are quite of different struggles each community faces, or like the feminist movement, anti-racist movement, and so on. So yeah, it's a lot of fucked up situations where a lot of needs are not really heard, not seen, or not visible, and we more or less should overcome the old system because we can't really create a better way in the system we live in.
Very nice end note.
Well, what are the other questions from?
Is there any questions from the audience?
Yeah.
You can also continue the discussion outside.
Informally.
Well,
Can I maybe
oh, sorry, yeah.
Still, sorry. Yeah. I don't know, like it took me about a lot of time. I'm 34 now, and it took me a really long time and a lot of guts also speak up about the issues that were surrounding me, and not be ashamed of it as well, because I also grew up in a household where there was a lot of shame around money, for example. And that took for a really long time. Like even my parents would say, like, no, don't talk about this, because then people know where you come from, etc. And next to that, I've been told on multiple occasions that I'm annoying for speaking my mind or saying stuff that I disagree with. And I think these are like all very important factors that we need to open up to, is that when someone is putting their like very emotional side of themselves on the table, talking about the difficulties that they face, we should embrace that and not like try to move move away from the conversation because it creates discomfort for the person in front of you, well, too bad. I felt this really uncomfortable for 34 years. And I also have an opinion, and I also have feelings, and you know, it should be I think that's a super important thing that we should kind of embrace with the whole community, that we should, when someone speaks about these issues, that you should sit down, you shut up, and you listen to what they have to say, because I think it's super, super important. Otherwise, you will never feel heard, and I think that's also something that we're really trying to achieve as a collective, is to be very open about this and straightforward, and that we need to find a way that everyone is on the same page when it comes to this, because not everyone comes from the same background, has the same struggles. If for someone, something really tiny is really bad, and someone else, something really big is a really minor thing, but you know, we're all human beings with feelings and experiencing, unfortunately, a lot of us are experiencing a lot of discomfort as well. And I think we shouldn't be scared anymore to address that. And if it creates an uncomfortable situation in a conversation, well, those emotions are for the other person to work with or find a way around it, because you know, we probably had to deal with that for a way longer time. And I do feel, and I think there's also something that I kind of took charge of in my life, is to try to find people around me and work with people that are around me that have this open attitude and that are willing to listen also when things not go right, or when you feel very uncomfortable, or etc. And that you can put these things on the table. Like I can give a really nice example. We was to have our jury process last Wednesday for Once We Be a Collective, and one of the jury members last minute cancelled. And one of the ladies in the jury said, like, I feel really bad, and I'm really nervous to say this, but I feel super uncomfortable doing this process with, like, you know, with one person missing. I don't want to do this. And I was like, oh my God, it's so nice that she's actually, you know, just saying, like, I don't want to do this because this makes me super uncomfortable. Can we please postpone? Yes, you know, this is like, maybe it's a weird example, but I think it's super important that sometimes you just need to take the situation as it is, although it was very uncomfortable for us because we have a lot of people waiting for us, finding out that they actually selected to show their work at the Dutch Design Week. But that's just what it is. And I feel like if we don't respect this person within the jury, she can't do her job properly. That's, I think, kind of my point. Be honest. People will not like you for speaking up and being honest about the situation, especially when it creates discomfort. But you know, if you don't say anything, nothing is ever going to change. And please listen. I think that's so important. Listen to what someone else has to say, and don't just straight away be like, oh, no, it doesn't work like that, or no, this is not how we work, or that's annoying, don't ask these questions. No, really try to listen. Just have an open mind, sit down and listen to what someone has to say, and when they're done, you can say what you want to say or ask questions, etc. But yeah, I think that's my biggest giveaway to everyone. Like, please listen, and don't find someone annoying when they have a different opinion about a certain topic or subject.
Thanks for your takeaway. I think there was one last question out of the audience.
Yeah, maybe it's just a thought, and I have to confess I'm not an expert at all in design, field of art, but design and objects and what you have, interior, etc., are things which are representing classism and producing classism a lot. So it depends what clothes you have on, or what ceramics you have in the kitchen, etc. It tells who you are. So maybe it is also, and maybe there is already existing a movement or whatever, but it is also quite interesting maybe to look to classism through objects and through designing, and what could there, or to make an open call and upon this upon this topic, how to change structural discrimination through design or whatever, through innovative invention in daily objects. Of course, there are also design objects which are very, very spread. They became objects of desires, and every household and so on, not only in the upper class, but objects are one image of classism. So, yeah.
There's one very interesting example with food, like bio products, who are like usually bought by people who are wealthier and who can afford this. And then before the due date is kind of done, like they are sent to Sozialmarkt. And then they're like the poorest of us, like go and buy the high quality, like these bio products for much less money. And in the end, they are consumed by the people with, less financial kind of possibilities. For me, this is something very interesting because one object at one point is very kind of valuable, becomes very kind of, present. You cannot go there and just buy it simply because it's so expensive. But then in the end, it goes back to, like for me, like this example with like these bio products through Sozialmarkt, and then where they go in the end is some kind of very interesting circle of how this is not so, in all the cases, very present. As you said, like one single object, and it's there forever, because it can change a bit.
If I can also say something to that, on the one hand, I mean, this is true for design, but it's also true for art. I mean, which art you produce or which art you own also is defined by where you come from.
But art is even more extreme because most people don't have original art in their apartments. You go to IKEA and buy a poster. This is maybe the first step. So they're maybe even more extreme, but objects of daily use are needed for everyone. So yeah.
But it's maybe to say something provocative, that rich people can afford to have bad art and bad design. Maybe poor people can't afford to have bad design. Really, it's, if your circumstances are hard, I think the design decisions that you take are even more crucial. And I think this is something that becomes very clear in Natalia's show, that these precarious circumstances, create a situation that creates ingenious design. And I think there are lots of theoretical approaches and also practical approaches that tackle this. I mean, there's a huge, DIY scene. There's, I mean, if you look at the work of people like Enzo Mari with the Autoprogettazione and so on, this is present, and this takes up a working class struggle into design practice. This definitely exists, and this is also something that sometimes more explicitly, but often implicitly, we try to do at the festival, to say like good design doesn't mean expensive product. Actually, especially if you industrialize a product, the design value is spread through so many more objects. If you pay the same fee to a designer, and then you make 3 objects, or if you make 3 million objects, if the design is the same, you can pay the designer the same thing, and spread value through to so many more objects. Of course, this creates different problems maybe on other sides, especially if we talk also about ecology at the same time. But
we should exhibit all the IKEA artists next year together, because I really wonder who these people are who sell the designs to IKEA and then distribute it everywhere, like in terms of artworks,
with the frame stuff. Yeah.
That would be really amazing.
Because it's interesting that IKEA, like one of the few large furniture companies that often name designers of objects. I mean, they're often given a name on the tag. That's interesting. I think it's good. But true of the, I don't know. Maybe I just never checked. Maybe it says on the back, I stopped photo taken by.
We can think about it next year.
Maybe also you can give a task to everyone who is exhibiting, doesn't matter what kind of background they have, to make like one chair, and it will be like 60 different chairs and materials used, and then you will see immediately like this layer, who's coming from where, and what choices they make for design objects.
last week, we had a day-long seminar with a couple of designers, well-established designers in Vienna, and we were trying to figure out what as a group these designers want to aspire to in their work next year. And something that often, one idea was to, for instance, tell yourself, make a to-do list and say, I want to do one open design project next year. I want to, to just set yourself goals. And as a festival, of course, we can also do that. If you're thinking about starting small, include one designer that I wouldn't have normally. I mean, this is like a small thing, but I mean, it's the same thing with your project. That I think each of these projects then creates new connections that you can build on. And then when curating a festival, really often comes down to you have an opening in your festival, and you think who could fit in there. And as soon as I've had projects that go in maybe different communities to the ones I already know, in this list of names that go through my head, when I think about who could do this in the festival, new names pop up, and I think this is the huge added value of having this bubble. To go back to this weird bubble.
Thanks. I think we are out of time. Yeah. Then thank you all. Thanks for the speakers for your participation.
Marisa Lobo of Kulturbereich, Gemma, she would have definitely added another aspect also to this discussion. Unfortunately, she couldn't come because of health reasons. So yeah, we'll speak with her next time.
And also applause for all the organizers and people doing the unseen labor behind the backgrounds and people doing technical stuff.